All right, a very good evening to, I'd rather start like very good morning, good afternoon, and very good evening from wherever you are logged into this special webinar session, uh, a, lock, a lockdown series, a special edition by Pick a Book, right? So this is going to be a really exciting session, and we have some three fantastic individuals in the panel. So before I get into anything, let me quickly give you a glimpse what is Pick a Book and what they do in terms of community building. For example, let's say start off Pick a Book. It encourages the reading habit by getting all participants to select a book, read and research on it thoroughly, and present a summary, which also helps to hone his or her public speaking, communication, and presentation skills. By doing this, Pick a Book not only inculcate the habit of reading, but also help to impart the wealth of knowledge. Amazing, isn't it? Right? And more importantly, a life without book is an unfulfilled life. From within the pages of book is a wealth of knowledge, life lessons, and inspirations where we have enriching experience of living the lives of others as we find our own feet in the world and discover within ourselves what we never knew we had. So it is not, it's almost more than 1.5 years, almost getting to 2 years, if I'm not mistaken. They have opened about 40 clubs, 1,200 members, 18 plus region, 4 plus countries, including UK, US, Singapore, and India and Sri Lanka. Now, what is this episode is about? We are going through a difficult time these days, and we wanted to really highlight what are the key element. What are people going through? Do you think books can help us to get through these particular tough situations? That's the whole discussion is about. Now, before we start out, here what I'm going to do now, right? We are live on Facebook, and people have logged on Zoom, and we are live on LinkedIn Live as well. So what I want you to do is just put on the chat from where are you logging? Is it from Sri Lanka? If it's from Sri Lanka, your town, city, where are you logging in? Or if you're out of the country, out of Sri Lanka, from which country you're logging in and checking in this particular webinar series. So just type in there and let us know from where. So it will give us also a little bit of a understanding where you guys are logging in. So that's what it's about. So let me introduce our panelists for today. Let me start with Krishanta Jayasinghe is a Pick a Book corporate mentor and the chief growth whisperer at Sarva Colombo. And we do have a lovely lady in the panel, Shamina Palli, PAB regional mentor, Colombo, and founder of Reflections Coaching. And you have the gentleman, or the final gentleman is Shelu Ariyasivam, a PAB club coach and a corporate mentor, plus an entrepreneur as well. And myself, my name is Mohammed Azim Sahir, a PAB corporate mentor and a human capital specialist. So start off, let me give a small foundation for this particular webinar, right? Now, what we are going through here today, in Sri Lanka, we are going through another phase of lockdown with a lot of high element of fear factor. That is the reality. People are really focusing on the news feeds, what's coming up, and the Twitters are coming out. A lot of influencers are posting a lot of messages coming on the TV to take the vaccination to protect your life. Now, if you really see the stage, what you have set now in terms of fear factor, when we are really in a lockdown compared to last year, this year we have adapted to lockdown. But then again, the question is, what was the fear factor? So to start off this, let's put a small element in terms of setting a foundation. What does it really involve in creating fear? Is it mind? Is it the thought process? Is it just the information what we get? And how we can really navigate this particular mindset while we are at home, to thrive from home, not only work from home. This is an important message. To start off, let me invite Shamina to put her thoughts. Before that, Shamina, let me just give a glimpse of to everybody who's checking from wherever you are. Please have a pen and paper with you, because it is going to be a really exciting session which there are a lot of tools we shared from the respective books which author shared, and some of the practices are executed by these panelists. So it's really important that you take some notes while you are listening, so it can help you to thrive from home. So Shamina, over to you. What would be your thought in terms of fear factor, setting the mindset, and more importantly, what can people do? What are the books highlighting in this particular situation? Over to you, Shamina.
Thank you, Azim. So before I go really into the thoughts and into the mind, I want to actually touch on a few books that I hope I get to talk about today, because all these books have helped me. And especially during a time like this, I would say three things have really helped me to get out of, feeling down or very disturbed about the situation. One is faith, faith that things are going to be fine. Second is to start planning for my future, planning. This is a time that I can reflect. This is the time I can set goals. So I have this time for myself. So we have dreams, we haven't solidified it, and we haven't clearly defined what we really want to achieve. So I wanted to use this time to really get into my goals and write them down and detail it. And thirdly, of course, to actually achieve all of this, I need to really be disciplined and get myself into a routine that actually is based on action. So three things: faith, and I'm not talking about toxic positivity, because I'll talk to you a little bit more when I touch on a book that I've read that really helped me create a mindset to face this situation. But faith that things are going to be fine. Not this everything's going to be great. It's toxic positivity, but there is certain element of confidence that things are going to be fine. So these are the three things: faith, routine, and goals. Since you touched on thoughts, and I also got myself prepared because this is important, two books that I felt were very good in setting your mind on focus is The Answer and Good to Great. The Answer is written by Alan and Barbara Pease. Good to Great is written by Jim Collins. Let me talk to you about this concept that I read in Good to Great, which is called the Stockdale Paradox. Please stop me in about 2-3 minutes, Azim, because I think if I try to go on, it'll never end.
Yeah,
I
go
won't
ahead. No
go
worries.
in, I won't go into detail about the story behind Stockdale Paradox, but I'll tell you the logic of this. This is a psychological duality. So what is this psychological duality? Two things. One is that we have to confront the brutal truth of our current reality. In whatever life, in whatever situation we are, whether it's lockdown, whether it's a pandemic, whether it's things not working out, we confront the brutal truth of our current reality. So that is one side of it. But at the other end of this duality is that we have unwavering faith in the end game that we will prevail. So why it's called Stockdale Paradox is that it was actually created based on Admiral Stockdale, who was the highest ranking officer, who was also a prisoner of war in the Hanoi Hilton camp. So he was a guy. So when he was in that prisoners camp, he he understood, okay, we are in a camp, we are stuck, we are going to be in isolation, we are going to be tortured, we are inside. So that's something that also I realized, we are not being tortured. Okay, we might be torturing ourselves, but we are not going through all these things that people went through in a concentration camp. And despite all of that, he established methods where people would create small milestones for survival. So he said, okay, if you are going to be tortured, after a certain number of minutes, you speak. So these people looked forward to survive, to these milestones, helped the prisoners to, okay, I can speak, which means I can survive. So he started creating an environment for the prisoners. He took that lead for the prisoners to establish a way of communicating so that they are not suffering in that isolation, and also that they look forward to surviving in that situation. And he came out of that camp alive. So the question that was asked was, who died? Who did not make it alive? Now, this is the crazy part, Azim. He said the optimists. The optimists did not make it alive. Now, why it is, I think you need to read the book to really understand the context. The optimists were the guys who said, okay, we are getting out by Christmas. We're getting out by Easter. We are getting out, in 1 week. We are getting out in 10 days. And when they did not make this, they gave up hope because they were heartbroken. Okay, this is not happening. This is not happening. So they started creating all these big dreams, and they just gave up when it didn't happen. So that's what he said. You may not get out this year. You may not escape by this Christmas, but you will escape eventually. So keep that unwavering faith. But the fact that you will not get out is confronting the brutal truth of your current reality. So that helped me, Azim, because whatever it is, this pandemic, I know now it will end at some point. But until then, make the most of it. Until then, find a conducive way of surviving. So I found the Stockdale Paradox a useful tool for me in actually organizing my thoughts and transferring it into a positive and productive way. Thank you, Azim, and over to you.
All right. So thank you, Shamina, for bringing that across. I think it really resonates the current situation we are living in, right? We are in a lockdown. Even sometimes people say, partially lockdown or whatever. We say so-called lockdown, but we are staggered in, and we have been told that we will be okay, which is like optimistic. We'll be okay. But whether we are the whole giant body is telling that it is not going to be okay unless you get vaccinated. Right. So I think that there is a similarity. So Samina, before I move to the next one, next person on this, can you give me the Stockdale Paradox? Yes, we do understand. For our benefit of our listeners and viewers who are looking at this, can you give a step-by-step process if someone really wanted to follow this? Sure, working from home and thriving from home, we are stuck. If I wanted to have that similar thing, how do I get out of it?
Okay, so it's about conditioning your mind, Azim. That's how I see it. Now you're in this situation, so which means, now assuming you are similar to that guy in this camp, which is not at all the case, you can utilize this time. And I don't think I have time to go into that. I'm going to switch into this other book which I read, which is called The Answer. You can utilize this time to really think, what do I want to do? Okay, how can I make use of this time? And that is actually what this guy did, Stockdale did, where he started creating mechanisms and milestones to survive within that situation. So you have dreams. Okay, we are saying, I want to achieve this, I want to do this, I want to do that. Those are just dreams flying in the air. You start really setting your goals. You start listing down things that you want. I can actually discuss that later, but you list down the goals that you really want, detail it as much as you can, put down action plans, create a routine that you can, go for these things. That is your first step of actually having that unwavering faith, because, by that time, you are prepared to go outside. And the brutal truth of your current reality is this: we can't blame anyone, Azim. Okay, we are in a culture where we are blaming people. We like to delegate. We are very much into delegating responsibility. We cannot ask people, you do this, you do this, you do this. You can't depend on people to do things. You want to stay safe, stay safe. You create an environment and you support people to do that. But we have to take responsibility for our lives. Okay, so we have to stop complaining and really get into action and doing things. So I think action is very important in a time like this. From the time you wake up, to your workouts, to your nutrition, to doing what you have to do, cleaning the house or reading or working at a desk or setting up your desk, you got to do it. And that is facing your current reality. You can't go out next week. You have to wear a mask. That's your current reality. You can't escape it. And we have to start accepting this brutal truth. And we are waiting for life to get back to normal and, want our old life, but create your new life. So if I summarize what you asked, Azim, in terms of a tool, first is think, okay, and understand where you are right now, and then the first thing is to look at people that might be worse off than you, okay, and then you create your plan for the future and what you can do now for your future, okay, and then you understand how how you're going to get through this, and be confident on a certain time, at a certain time, that this would get sorted, and until such time you start building and creating little milestones for yourself, little goals that can actually be achieved even starting from now and leading on to when you go out, so that you are not living in a fantasy world, and you are not complaining, and you are actually not going to be disappointed just because it doesn't go your way. So I hope that helps answer your
Absolutely
question.
fantastic, Shamina. Thank you for sharing that. I think if you really live on the practical reality world, I think that's what the whole message is about. Don't dream, right? Now we have COVID, we have certain pandemic going on. You need to adapt to it. That's where your emotion coming to picture, where you need to settle your emotion, right? This is what the reality is. This is what we have to go through this, right? Fantastic. So those who are viewers who are just logged in to us, we are talking about thriving from home, a special webinar edition by Pick a Book. We have three fantastic panelists who is giving some tools and techniques to know what you can do while you're at home to make sure you have that mindset, get out of that fear factor, how you can really thrive. And at the same time, I would like to invite all the attendees, viewers. If you have any question for the panelists, please go and if you're on Facebook or LinkedIn, just go to the comment box and type it with your name. What is your question and whom do you want to ask? At the same time, you're logged in Zoom, please do put your questions on the Q&A session. So I'll just pick it up and throw it across to the respective panel person. So now I'm slightly moving to another individual perspective. Let's take CJ. CJ, what would be your thought on this particular question? The fear factor exists. Stockdale Paradox is a tool that Shamina bringing in. What is your book? What does that book say? How to navigate this fear? How to really get out of this, live in the reality, and thrive? Over to you, CJ.
Thank you, Azim. Thank you very much. And it's an absolute honor to be part of this panel. The book which really gave me some kind of solace during this time is this book called A New Earth. It's by Eckhart Tolle. You might have heard of him. He's more famous for the Power of Now. But actually, A New Earth, the book has sold 10 times more than The Power of Now. Now, this book helps us to identify the role of the ego and how it plays in our life. Now, you might ask us what the ego is, right? It's something sort of abstract and you really don't know what it is. So let me elaborate in a little bit. What we say is, there's this famous quote by René Descartes, which I'm sure all of you have heard of, which is called, I think, therefore I am. I'm sure all of you have heard of it, right? But that is your ego. The thoughts which are inside your head every day, every time you see a tweet, every time you get an SMS, what is this? What is this bloody thing? Will I be able to go out and feed my family? Will I be able to pay my lease? Will I be able to pay my rent? How am I going to get my salary? These are thoughts which are constantly in our head. And what happens is, these thoughts are actually developed as a, mechanism for self-preservation. But what happens is, most of us let our thoughts define us. It is really explained in this book. And when our thoughts define us, right, it leads to anxiety, fear, and insecurity, right? Because we're always thinking, oh, I am a well-off guy. Will I be poor? That's anxiety, right? Will I have a home, right? And this, in turn, all this anxiety triggers a fight or flight system. And when that happens, there is this thing called cortisol, which starts going into the stress hormone, and we get into this immense stress, and it stops our body's natural immune system from functioning, right? This in turn triggers loads of disease, right, which can ultimately lead to death. So it's a vicious cycle. So what this book does is it explains to us to watch our thoughts, to identify that we are not our thoughts. Our thoughts, it's not easy, but it tells us to just watch our thoughts, just like we would watch some cars passing by, right? In the vehicles on the road. We see it, we let it go. If we see clouds, we see it, we let it go. And by being able to do that, slowly but surely, we become less anxious. We become less stressed. And in turn, we begin to feel much better and have a far more positive outlook towards life. So the book, once again, A New Earth by Eckhart Tolle.
Fantastic thought process. Let me talk a little bit in Sinhala also. පොඩ සිංහලෙන් කතා කරන්න. ඒකත් මේ සිංහල ප්‍රේක්ෂකයෝ ඉන්නවා ඇති මෙතන බලාගෙන මේගොල්ලන් ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන්ම කතා කරන්නේ. අපි දෙමළ භාෂාවෙන් කතා කරන්න බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. CJ මට සිංහලෙන් කියන්න බෑ. Right? දැන් අපි දැන් ඔයා කිව්වා මේ ඊගෝ කියන කතාව.
ඔව්.
අපි මිනිස්සුયો හැටියට මේ ඊගෝ කියන එක අනිවාර්යෙන් අපි තුල තියෙනවා ඒක. කොහේ ගියත් හරි අමාරු යෝග නැති කරගන්න. මේ පොතේ
ඊගෝ වලට සිංහලෙන් කියන්නේ මමත්වය. හරියට හරි. එතකොට දැන් තියෙන තත්ත්වයට දැන් ඔයා කිව්වා මම කැමති එකට මේ සෑහෙන කැමති SMS එකක් එනවා, ලීස් එක ගෙවන්න, ලෝන් එක ගෙවන්න. ඒ අතරතුර සමහර කට්ටිය සමාජ මාධ්‍යවල දානවා එක ඇක්ෂන් ඒගොල්ලන් කරපු වැඩ මොනවාද කියලා. දැන් ට්‍රෙන්ඩ් එකක් තිබ්බ කාලයක් මේ ඩිෂස් ටිකක් දානවා මම මේක හැදුවා. එතකොට පැල ටික වැව්වා. දැන් මේ ලොක්ඩවුන් එකේ පේන්නේ නැහැ. රයිට්? දැන් මේක ඊගෝ කියන தත්ත්වය මෙතනින්ුත් එක හැදෙන්න පුළුවන් නේද? එතකොට කොහොමද මේ මානසිකත්වයේ තියාගෙන අපි මේක ඉස්සරහට යන්නේ? right? මම කැමති වලට ඔය let it go කියන එක නිකන් අතරලා දාන්න කියන එක මේ කියන වචනේ ඔයා ගෙනාවා. කොහොමද CJ මේක ඇත්තටම අපිට ප්‍රැක්ටිකලි කරන්න පුළුවන්ද? මෙහෙමයි, ප්‍රැක්ටිකලි කරන්න අමාරුයි. හැබැයි පුළුවන්. දැන් මම නම් කියන්නේ ගොඩක් වෙලාවට මගේ එක්සැම්පල් එක තමයි අර පාරේ කාර් යන විදියට. ඒක බලන්න ඕනේ. අපි අපේ මමත්වය, අපේ මනසේ තියෙන සිතුවිලි බලපු ගමන් හරි ඒකට තියෙන පවර් එක අඩු වෙනවා. තව එකක් තමයි ඇත්තටම කියන්නේ මේ දැන් අපේ සිතුවිලි වලින් අපේ ෆීලිංග්ස් මෙයා වෙනවා. එතකොට මේක මම ඉංග්‍රීසියෙන් කියන්න. What you can do, a very simple technique is you look at yourself, you look at your thought, and then you say, okay, I am feeling angry because of this. The moment you give a reason, the moment you label your thought, then everything falls into place. Everything settles down. There is no මේකට මේ hard and fast පිළිතුරක් නැහැ. මේක පොඩ්ඩ ඉගෙන ගන්න ඕනේ. තමුන්ගේ සිතුවිලි බලන්න. තමුන්ගේ සිතුවිලි බැලුවම හරි suddenly ඕගොල්ලෝගේ සිතුවිලි එකක් තමුන් එකක්. හරි ඒක කරපු ගමන් මේ තියෙන distance එක ඇති වෙනවා. ඒ distance එක ඇති වුණාම ඒකේ තියෙන positive feelings ඔක්කොම වැඩි වෙනවා.
ධනාත්මක හැඟීම්. මම ඔකට ඇඩ් කරන්නම් CJ ඔකට අපි කියනවා ස්වයං දැනුවත්භාවය, self awareness කියන කතාව. right? චිත්ත වේගාත්මක බුද්ධිය කියන ගන්නකොට, ඒ කියන්නේ emotional intelligence කියන කතාව ගන්නකොට ඔය ස්වයං දැනුවත්භාවය, self awareness කියන එක ඉතාම වැදගත් අංගයක්. දැන් අපි ගෙදර ඉන්නකොට දැන් මට කියනවා තීරෙන්නේ Tamanට පුළුවන් නම් දැන් දැනෙන හැඟීම මොනවාද කියලා ඔයාට හඳුනා ගන්න. ඒක තමයි ස්වයං දැනුවත්භාවය කියන්නේ. ඒක self awareness. එතකොට දැන් CJ කිව්වා වගේ දැන් මට තරහා යනවා කියන හැඟීම එනකොට ඔයාට පුළුවන් වෙන්න ඕනේ ඇයි තරහා යන්නේ කියන එක හොයාගෙන ඊට පස්සේ ඒක කලමනාකරණය. ඒකට self management කියලා කියනවා. ස්වයං කලමනාකරණය කරගන්න පුළුවන් හැඟීම්. so එතකොට මෙතන තියෙනවද සමිනාව කනෙක්ට් කරන්නම් මම මෙතනින් සමිනා කියපු කතාව දැන් ප්‍රැක්ටිකල් වෙන්න ඕනේ. ප්‍රායෝගික වෙන්න ඕනේ. Taman ඉන්නේ ලොක්ඩවුන් එක. අපි මේක එක සිතුවිලි හිතලා වැඩක් නැහැ. ඉස්සරහට කොහොමද මේ ලොක්ඩවුන් එක හරි මේ අපි දන්නේ නැහැ ලොක්ඩවුන් එක තව ඉස්සරහට දීර්ඝ කරයිද නැද්ද කියලා. නමුත් දීර්ඝ කරාද නැද්ද? කොහොමද අපි මේ කොවිඩ් එකත් එක්ක කොහොමද යන්නේ කියන තමයි මේ පොතෙන් මම හිතන්නේ ස්වයං ධනවත්භාවයයි ඔය ඊගෝ කියන මමත්වය කොහොමද පැහැදිලි කරලා මෙතනින් එළියට එන්නේ කියන එක තමයි මම හිතන්නේ මේ පොතෙන් කියන්නේ. බොහොම ස්තුතියි සීජේ දුන්න සහයෝගයට. Again, guys, there are a lot of questions coming in, right? So let me go to Shelu. I just asked for the questions. There are a lot of questions coming in, so get ready, guys. සූදානම්ෙන් ඉන්න මේ questions මේ ප්‍රශ්න වලට පිටුරු සපයන්න. Shelu, let's come to you now. Right?
Go ahead.
So you did listen to CJ and Shamina.
Yes.
What sort of a different element you can bring in terms of this particular current situation where we are in fear, we are in where anxiety, right? How do you can add value? What is the book you're going to bring? What is the tool you're going to give?
I'm going to talk about a completely different book. The book is Great by Choice. It talks about corporates and talks about normal company becoming great companies. But this book specifically focuses on individuals who were responsible to bring those companies as great companies. So why I'm talking about this book is, since we are all individuals, even the household, every day-to-day life is a company for us, right? It's a relationship also, it's a company, right? So I feel if I can share some knowledge or insights from this particular thing which I got inspired from, to be helpful. So I would say something on a different angle. Now, in this current lockdown, since we're talking about it, we can see there are some people who are doing well, and some people are struggling. So, is it that I'm going to just talk about the environment. We are all in the same environment. We are all in the same lockdown. So, but how come some people are doing well and some people are not? Right. And some people have adapted so well to the lockdown. I mean, if you talk to a friend whom you have not spoken to about a year or two, you would see that person doing so many different things right now. So that shows the adaptability, right? So I would just share an example from the book. There were two people called Amundsen, it's a very hard name to pronounce, a Norwegian guy, and a guy called Scott. Now they were supposed to travel towards, it's like a competition in the South Pole. Okay, we all know what South Pole is. It's the, sub-zero level temperatures. It's almost like you're going to commit suicide. Because traveling to a certain point and coming back to the destination, it's good as the worst case scenario. It's do or die situation. We are all in that situation right now, right? Now these two teams, Scott's and Amundsen's teams, this one team, they survived, they won the game, and the other team, they did not even lose. They all perished. So the environment was so harsh. Everything was the same because they left at the same time. Everything was the same. But the beauty is the person who won, that's Amundsen. I think I'm getting the name correct. He's a Norwegian guy. He knew when he has to go on this snow and everything, there's going to be so many different things. He went to the extent of living with Eskimos. Why? Because they know how to capitalize the cold. He lived in with the Eskimos. He learned how about their clothes, and he actually studied how to operate dogs as his transportation. Whereas the other gentleman, he took ponies as his transportation. And the best part is ponies, the way their bodies are, they sweat through their hooves, and in sub-zero levels, when you sweat, it gets frozen. So end of the day, they did not have any animals to even go to the final destination. They had to drag their own stuff. But for us amnesians people, they were going, they went, they pitched a tent, they came back. It was beautiful. He even started eating raw dolphin meat before this competition, just to practice. Okay, how is this protein going to help me during the cold winter time? So what I'm saying is, so we don't have to eat raw dolphin meat because of the lockdown, but it's talk about the preparation, Azim. It talks about the preparation. Now, this, as now Shamina said, that this is the best time to reflect. CJ was saying it's the mind. It's all interconnected, right? So using this mind, because our anxiousness is going to really take over our emotion, is going to take over the situation if we really give in to anxiousness. It's crazy. I mean, I went through that during the first lockdown, right? And the person who known me at that time and who's talking to me now knows how many things that I have changed in my life. So just that, not that we are saying that we're all perfect, not that I'm saying I'm perfect. Still, I'm learning. On a day-to-day basis, I'm learning. Just that we have to accept what the reality is, and then we have to do it. And another principle from the book is it talks about fire bullets and then cannonballs. See, it's a beautiful thing. When you fire a bullet, it's going to pierce a small area. When you do a cannonball, it's going to pierce a massive area. So in an uncertain environment, when you are not sure about adaptability, when you are not sure about what's going to happen, you have to try small things. Okay, now you're in a certain pattern, going to office every day in the morning. Now you're on lockdown. What are you going to do? Are you going to blame the employer? Are you going to blame the government? No point. Blaming is not going to bring food to your home. You need to try something new, very small, immediately. Right? You need to sit back, use CJ's technique, think about what Shamina said, and then sit back, meditate, and then try and adapt. There are so much of opportunities that the universe has for you. The only thing that universe expects from you is be still and know how powerful I am. That's all the universe is asking every one of us. We just have to be still, right? When you're that, you will know which bullet to fire, that's working or not working, and then you can go big. You can just take on different targets. And another beautiful tool is, Azim, I just stop me if I'm taking more time, okay? I'm very excited about this book. It's about the 20-mile march. That is talking about consistency. See, in this march, like if you promise yourself you're going to do only 20 miles a day, stick to that. Sometimes we will get tempted. If that day is a difficult day, we might try to do 15 miles. Why? Because it's a difficult day. No, we have to push and go to that 20 miles. Sometimes we will also get tempted. If it's a very lovely day and you have more energy, you might want to do 40 miles. Don't do that. Just stick to 20 miles. When you stick to the 20 miles, then you can change your targets. According to the things you have adapted along the way. It doesn't mean that you have to do only 20 miles. But if you are prepared well, because when you get practice, you might be able to do 40 and be consistent in the 40 miles. So your goalpost can change. But until you decide to change, or until you're comfortable to change the goalpost, be consistent. So the three things that I want to say is, your environment is the same. Everybody's in the same harsh environment. Be prepared. Accept. Confront the brutal truth that Shamina said. That is reality. You are there. Right?
Absolutely.
And then
absolutely.
be consistent.
Yeah, Shilu, I cannot agree more on that. This is what we all need to do it. Like, world is changing very fastly. Now, here this change I'm going to make you, Shilu. Can you give us in 3 steps in Tamil for Tamil viewers? What would be the takeaway? I know this is change, right? This is a real life example we are going to do now. Now, this is what book says for you. So, Shilu is going to tell. Tamil rendu moonu vaarthaigal solluvaru enga Tamil nergalukku. இந்த புக்ல என்ன சொல்லுது, இந்த லாக்டவுன்ல நாங்க என்ன செய்ய வேணும், என்ன மாதிரி நடந்து கொள்ள வேணும், என்ன மாதிரி முறையில நாங்க எங்களோட மைண்ட் செட்டை, எங்களோட மைண்டை ப்ரிப்பேர் பண்ணிக்கொள்ள வேணும்னு சொல்லுவார். ஷெலு,
இப்போ இந்த தமிழ் உச்சரிப்பெல்லாம் பிள்ளையா இருந்தா என்னை மன்னிச்சு கொள்ளுங்க. சரியா? நாங்களாம் தமிழ் பண்டிதர்கள் அல்ல. ஸோ என்ன என்ன சொல்றேன்னா, இப்போ நாங்க இருக்கிறது எல்லாரும் ஒரே ஒரே நிலைமையில தான் இருக்கிறோம். சரி, சிலவங்க நல்லா இருக்காங்க, சிலவங்க கஷ்டப்படுறாங்க. அது அது சொல்லுது இல்லை அவங்க வேற வேற நாட்டில் இருக்காங்கன்னு சொல்லக்கூட இல்லை. நாங்கள் ஸ்ரீலங்காவில் இருக்கிற சில பேர் நல்லா இருக்காங்க, சில பேர் நல்லா இல்லை, கஷ்டப்படுறாங்க. எல்லாரும் ஒரே நிலைமையில தான் இருக்கும். அதுக்கு என்ன செய்யணும்? நாங்கள் எங்களை ஆயத்தப்படுத்திக் கொள்ளணும். நாங்கள் மற்றவங்களுக்கு குறை சொல்லி சரி வராது. அது நம்மட வேலையை, நம்மட காரணங்களை, நம்மட வீட்டில் இருக்க எங்களுக்கு தேவையான வழிகளை நாங்கள் தான் செய்து கொள்ளணும் ஒழிஞ்சு நாங்கள் மற்றவங்கள குறை சொல்லி எங்களுக்கு சரி வராது. வி கான்ட் பிளேம் அதர்ஸ், ரைட்? இப்போ இந்த நிலைமையில நாங்கள் முந்தி செஞ்சதெல்லாம் இப்போ செய்ய இயலாது. ஆனால் நாங்கள் எங்களோட ஸ்ட்ராட்டஜி, எங்கட ஸ்டைலை மாற்றணும். நாங்கள் கொஞ்சம் இப்போ இது வலது பக்கத்துல போய்கிட்டு இருந்தீங்கன்னா கொஞ்சம் சேஞ்ச், இடது பக்கத்துல என்ன இருக்குன்னு கொஞ்சம் பாருங்க, கொஞ்சம் சின்னதை பாருங்க, ஒரு சின்ன இடத்த பாருங்க, சின்னதை செஞ்சு பாருங்க. சரி வருதா, சரி வரல, ரைட், டக்குன்னு மற்றதுக்கு போங்க. ஏன்னா நாங்க எல்லாரும் வெரி யூனிக் பீப்புள். நாங்களாம் சரியான முக்கியமான ஆட்கள், ஹியூமன் பீயிங்ஸ் சொல்ல, மனுஷங்கன்னு சொல்ல நிறைய டேலண்ட் உள்ளவங்க. கட்டாயம் நீங்க செய்யறதுக்கு விட மிச்ச வேலை உங்களுக்கு வேற வேலைகளும் செய்யலாம். சரியா? இப்போ நாங்க என்ன நிலைமையில இருப்போம் நாங்க தெரிஞ்சுக்கிட்டு அதை பத்தி கவலைப்படாம நான் இனி என்ன செய்ய போறேன், அது செகண்ட் ஸ்டெப். அதை யோசிப்போம். அது செஞ்சு அது கண்டுபிடிச்ச பிறகு அதை கண்டினியூஸா செய்யுங்க. அதாவது இன்னைக்கு செஞ்சுட்டு நாளைக்கு சுடக்கூடாது, நாளைக்கும் அதே செய்யணும். அது செய்ய தான் ப்ராக்டிஸ் ஆகுவீங்க. அதுக்கு பிறகு அதை பெருசாக்குங்க. ஸோ இதுதான் 3 விஷயம் அசீம் எனக்கு சொல்லலாம்.
Right. Thank you, Shalu, for that putting in. So ladies and gentlemen, we are in Thriving from Home special webinar edition done, organized by Pick a Book. Pick a Book is an organization, a movement which to nature reading, inculcate the habit of reading and create more readers turn into leaders. Leaders are the readers. And at the same time, I'd like to highlight that we are on Facebook Live and LinkedIn Live as well. So if you have any questions, please do type in, and there are tons of questions coming in. I'm just holding it to right place to put it across. So the panelists, please be ready to take up the questions. Now, we did talk about fear factor. We did talk about preparing our mindset. Some fantastic tool came in from all three panelists. Now, I'm going to shift a bit in terms of bringing into most of us now in lockdown. And even not in lockdown, some people are working from home now, right? Now, working from home is, people say this is the new normal, hybrid working. There are a lot of elements coming into picture. Now, my biggest concern and the question for the panel is, and you can just relate to one of the books, how does working from home is impacting our relationships at home or relationship outside the home? It can be office relationship. For example, those says, no, this is the next cubicle, we can say, hi Machang, how are you? You should do now. Now we are not able to do. Now at the same time, now we are almost at home at the time. Some people are working from 8 to 5 original time, but now people are working very late. Meetings are happening. Work-life balance is going a bit of an issue here now. So what will that bring in our life? So let me start off with Shalu. I believe Shalu has a fantastic little bit, and especially relationship with the spouses. Now, both the හැමදාම මූණ දැකලා ඉස්සර නම් 8ට 5ට දකින්න රැයට දකින්න ආදරේ වැඩිකමක් තියෙනවා, right? දැන් හැමදාම මූණ දකින්නකොට පොඩ්ඩක් අපිට පොඩි පාවර ගතියකුත් එනවනේ. I'm not being I mean, like to say, like, what next to be done, right? Sometimes the spouses don't give the attention to their wives or husband while working from home because they are unscheduled. Some people are going a lot of craziness, stress level is going up, anxiety is going up. Some people are getting into depression because it's working from is not the culture we used to be, but that's the way forward. Shalu, what do you have for us?
What a question, Asim. I mean, that's a fantastic question. See, now, what are we used to normally? Wake up in the morning, leave home, come home at 6, 7, 8 in the night, right? That's generally a man's routine, right? And then your kids see you when you're leaving in the morning and coming back home in the evening. Your wife sees the same. And they were used to that for so many decades. And now suddenly, this face is there 24/7 at home. You now, and that is going to get worse if it's a demanding character or a dominant character. I mean, there is that you don't have that me time. You don't have that private time, right? When, for example, if it's a housewife, they would always have a me time. They will have a. But now for both parties, the husband or the wife, and even the children, that me time is not there anymore. Why? Because all the time everybody's at home. So here, the stress levels are going to go so much, and the first thing that's going to come to you is you will start criticizing people, right? So see, I read this book, How to Win Friends and Influence People. It sounds like a manipulative topic, but it's a fantastic book. I think it's an old book, but it's very relevant even now. I think everyone should read it and practice it. So in that book, right, there's one tool is, if you want to gather honey, don't kick the beehive. I mean, if you kick the beehive, you're not going to get the honey at all, right? So that is like, if you want to get good things out of your family members or even your work colleagues now, because now most of the companies have their meetings on Zoom. So you have this small 2x2 inch, a square where you have to communicate everything. It's not like, as you said, we are not next to each other, give a high five, tap on the shoulder. That's not there anymore. It's there, this small square in front of you, right? So when you're in that situation, you can't criticize people. You can't say, okay, you're doing this. You're going to lose that member. You're going to lose that family member or the corporate guy or your colleague. You're going to lose him for the rest of your life. They would think, I mean, who is he to come and tell me? You can be the husband, you can be the wife, you can be the father, but that will be the case. You will lose the people, right? So that is one important tool that I want to share with all of us, because always we should never criticize and don't complain and don't condemn. If you want to do that, there are so many other methods you can do. You might, like in this panel, if I say, okay, Hazim, I don't like your nose, right? I need to tell it in a very nice way. Hazim, you have beautiful eyes, you have beautiful chins. I think there's something in your nose which I think we can correct it. Even don't say it directly, right? I mean, something like that. So we should never say anything. I mean, if you want to give feedback, give it as a feedback. And see, that brings to my next point. If you're giving feedback, you have to have that genuinity to improve that other person. How many of us have seen people in offices like, okay, they come and say, oh, good, especially your bosses might come and say, oh, you did a good job. But okay, this guy is faking it. You feel it. But there are some bosses who do it, okay, this guy is giving it from the heart. Right? So people are not dumb. When you give an appreciation, you give it genuinely. You say, okay, fantastic. You are a fantastic person. Okay, this is what I like to see about you. So why don't we do this together? I will help you. Your criticism, it's not as a criticism, it's a helping hand. That is something which is very important. Even that book talks about it. If more than you telling about yourself, if you show interest in that person, if I start talking, if I say, Azim, so how are you? Where did you buy your shirt from? How is your work? How can I help you? How do you do your training modules? Is there anything that I can help you with? Where do you get? If I continuously ask questions about you, you would feel so good. You will go to a different level. I will challenge the husbands who are here. You take 5 minutes and ask your spouse all about what they do the whole day. In the very way. Because they'll be so excited to share everything. Because we don't ask the questions. And they would say, okay, enough asking questions, now please stop. I mean, we should come to that level. we have to genuinely show interest even with the kids or the spouses. We sometimes take it for granted, does it? We say, okay, they
Right.
know I'm the husband, they know I love them, so what the hell? I don't have to ask them, I don't have to tell them.
Hello, I'm sorry for interrupting. I want to put you that
Yeah.
as you bring that relationship, husband and wife, right? You said, go and ask what you did. Keep on asking, what was your day, even you're working from home. What if husband don't respond? What if he ignores? Because he's already tired. And do you think husband will, now this might be the reality sometimes. And let me be fair enough. Sometimes it happens to me, after doing the whole session online, my wife is coming and asking, what do you do? Sometimes I cannot talk because my job is talking.
Yes.
That situation, imagine me. Now you tell me for me, from this book, what can I do? Or any element.
No, it's like, I think the CJ will talk about that in that book. The wife has to understand what the husband wants.
Okay.
That's the bottom line here. The
Right.
husband has to understand what the wife wants. See, sometimes the husbands are usually don't talk much.
Yeah.
So you ask the question and you let the wife talk. That will be the best relationship.
Yeah. So add to that, Shelu, you talked about perfect thing, asking how are you doing, what are you doing. Let me do a put of an emotional intelligence element here, right? This is what we call empathy, right? One of the main elements, especially working from home, where people have lost connection. This is a Microsoft research done by Microsoft on the work trade index, where it highlighted that the connection between employee and the employer has been dropped. At the same time, connection between the families also has been dropped, because we don't see each other, because we are human beings. Human animal, we like to be social, right? So that has been dropped, where emotional intelligence, where it comes, you try to get into an empathy, more into empathy and compassionate. You ask, for example, the good tip is check in and check out. Just check out with your people. How are you doing today? Are you feeling good? How is everything at home? So it creates that social connection automatically while you're working from home also. This will help you to set your mind, make sure that everybody is okay. And it will apply to the husband and wife relationship, or parent, child relationship, or peers or siblings, because that is a really important element. Now, here is the next shift I am making towards CJ. CJ, tell what the topic, Men Are From Mars, is very interesting book. Can this have a tool for us to resolve this issue?
Yes. I need to ask two questions. One, am I being heard clearly? Could someone reply in the chat?
For me, I can hear. CJ?
Right. Secondly, I wonder whether any of you have read Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. I would like to see some responses on the chat, if it's possible.
If you can say yes or no, it will be perfect.
Okay.
So Amin Abubakar say no, I have not.
Right. So for the purposes of the people who have not, let me talk to you what it was. I always thought males and females were cut from the same cloth, that our behaviors and how we look at life are the same, right? But it was only when I found out and read Men Are From Mars that I really realized nature has made us into two different people, right? There are two books which I want to talk to you about. One is Men Are From Mars. The other one is The 5 Love Languages. I think this is perfect for this. And if I have time, I also want to talk to you a little bit, spend a minute sharing something from the Prophet by Khalil Gibran. So let me start with the Men Are From Mars. So what I want to do is just take you, I'm going to read it out, through 3 points, which I thought was interesting from the book. I think it's a book which all of us should read, but this will give you, and then actually tell you 3 stories. Again, I'm going to read this out. So the first point is women want men to listen to them, while men desire solutions to problems. Shelu, I think that sort of identifies with what you said. Men are motivated when they feel useful. Women are inspired when they feel loved or appreciated. Women and men communicate differently and assign separate meanings to the same words. So these are 3 stories from the book which I want to share with you. Let me read it out because it's easier. So the lesson 1, men need to process their problems in their head, while women want verbal communication. After a long day at work, Tom and Mary come home with work-related issues on their mind. As they both sit down for dinner, Mary starts talking about how her boss is making her work too much. Tom, being the problem solver he is, starts offering solutions. That is what we are made to do, you know. This upsets Mary since she only needs Tom to listen and to help her feel better. Tom, on the other hand, wants to solve his work-related issues in solitude or by taking his mind off work while watching TV. That is one of the fundamental things. When your husband comes home from work, give him some time, right? Let him watch some stuff, watch some TV. Don't go, right? Which a lot of people tend to do because, the housewife waits for the spouse to come home. He only feels the need to talk to Mary about a problem when he wants her to give him a solution. Mary feels sad because Tom isn't talking about what's bothering him as she would do. In both cases, Tom and Mary try to fulfill each other's needs the wrong way, so they end up fighting. To solve this issue, Tom can listen to Mary without offering solutions, unless she specifically asks for help. Mary can let Tom process his emotions by himself when he needs to. As a man, you can let a woman talk without offering solutions and deal with your own issues later. As a woman, you can wait for men to solve their problems by themselves until they feel better. 2 more little lessons. I think it's very important, so I'm just going to take a little time. Women need to feel loved, whereas men like the sense that they are useful. This is really important. One Sunday afternoon, Tom decides to fix a broken bookshelf by himself. After watching Tom work for hours, Mary tells him to call his brother for help. Tom doesn't like the advice because he wants to feel useful by fixing the bookshelf by himself. All he needs from Mary is an appreciation of his efforts and trust in his skills. Mary, on the other hand, does all the dishes, laundry, cleaning, cooking, and other household tasks on most days. She is happy to do this work, but when Tom doesn't acknowledge the care she provides, Mary starts resenting him. If Tom appreciated the small things Mary does for him, he would fulfill Mary's need to be loved and respected. In both cases, a lack of voluntary appreciation creates tension and needless problems. As a woman, you can show men that you trust them and let them help when they want to, so they'll feel useful. As a man, you can repeatedly show women how much you appreciate them to make them feel fulfilled. Lesson 3. Men and women may use similar words but mean completely different things. One day, Mary brings up the issue that Tom has been too busy to spend time with her. She says, "We never go out together." As a result, Tom bursts out in anger, reminding her of all the times they did go out together and all the things he's been doing for the family. Remember, men want to feel appreciated too. But when Mary uses the word never, she doesn't really mean never. She's trying to express her feelings about Tom not having paid attention to her lately. In Tom's mind, however, she actually means never, and he gets frustrated about her using this word. On another day, Tom is overthinking an issue at work. Mary senses Tom's tension and asks what's wrong. Tom replies, "I'm fine. Don't worry about it." Mary interprets this as a sign that things are not fine and that she needs to interrogate him further to find out what's wrong. She keeps questioning Tom until he gets angry. When Tom says, I'm fine, however, he actually means that he is fine and wants to deal with his problem alone. Should he be in the mood to talk and ask for solutions, he'll let Mary know when he feels like it. Mary doesn't understand this, which leads to frustration and anger from both sides. Men are often quite literal. Women tend to use words as mere expressions of a general feeling. As a man, you can focus on the feelings of women than their words alone. As a woman, you can stop trying so hard to find the hidden meaning behind men's words because they'll often say what they mean anyway, right? So that is Men Are From Mars and Women Are From Venus. This is an excellent book. I just wish I had read it, 30 years ago.
Is your wife around?
Sorry?
Your wife around?
No. Right.
I think CJ,
Right.
I think lovely element of a bit of a storytelling. It really resonates. What sort of a mentality, especially on this particular lockdown period? How do you really resonate? Because we tend to assume, we need to ignore, we should neglect. No, these are the things I think we really need to understand how our behaviors or psychological element works in.
Azim, I want to take a little
Yes,
bit more time.
Yeah.
Can I talk about the 5 love languages, which is the other side of the...
That is, I want to really pick it up. That is a really important element. How do you really speak it up?
Yeah.
Especially when we are locked down, when we are really frustrated, stress level goes up, and there are a couple of questions coming in the same line. So let's do it, CJ.
Yeah. So I'm just going to be fast because I've taken a lot of time. And anyone can reach out to me privately if you want to lecture on this. But see, a lot of us assume that the way we feel loved and cared for is identical to the way the other person, our partner, our colleague, our friend feels loved and cared for. That is completely wrong. And I did not know that till I read this book. It could be children, it could be friends, it could be colleagues, it could be bosses. Right? Dr. Gary Chapman, who wrote this book, identified this into 5 different love languages. Again, you can check this book out. It's the most interesting book. One is, the first love language is words of affirmation, right? Words of affirmation means genuinely telling someone, you can do this. You are looking wonderful. I'm there for you. Number 2 is spending quality time. Number 3 is acts of service, little things. Number 4 is physical touch. That does not mean sex, but giving a hug, tapping their shoulder, things like that. And number 5 is receiving gifts. Now, the important thing about love languages is that all of us have what is known as a love tank in us, right? And it is if you want a healthy relationship, you need to understand your partner's love language. There are 2 ways you can do that. One is actually there is a love language test online, which you can do it, or you can look at where the complaints are coming from, and that will be their love language, or how they are expressing their care and concern to you, right? So the love tank should always, have something, just like you have fuel in your car. And keep in mind that for one negative act, you need 6 positive acts of affirmation to just wipe it out and to, make things good once again. 1 is equal to 1 negative act is equal to 6 acts. One more thing, since there's a lot of people staying at home, I just want to talk about Khalil Gibran. I just want to read out a little poem by him. And it talks about marriage, right? It says, love one another, but make not a bond of love. Let it rather be a moving sea between the shores of your souls. Fill each other's cup, but drink not from one cup. Give one another of your bread, but eat not from the same loaf. Sing and dance together and be joyous, but let each one of you be alone. Even as the strings of a lute are alone though they quiver with the same music. Give your hearts, but not into each other's keeping, for only the hand of life can contain your hearts. And stand together, yet not and stand together, yet not too near together. For the pillars of the temple stand apart, and the oak tree and the cypress grow not in each other's shadow. What we have to realize is when during this lockdown, all of us are stuck in a house, we need to carve out time for ourselves. It is crucial to do that. Otherwise, everything is going to be absolutely stressful. I'm sorry I took so much time.
No. Fantastic, CJ. I think really, one of the important element most of us goes through. And there's a question for you, CJ, from an audience. I think real time, good time to really put this question to you. So this is a question goes, ever since I started working from home, I noticed my stress level increasingly drastically, mostly because I feel like I'm working all the time. How do I navigate this? I think this would be ideal. Would be the ideal person just to really put it across. I think there was a similar question also put it across to Shelu, if I'm not mistaken. I think if you can address both, that will be great.
Yeah, this is a huge problem because suddenly you are never off, mentally as well as physically. Those days we used to go to office, and at a certain time we used to shut our computer down and then go home. But now we cannot do that. There is only one thing you can do. You need to learn to shut off. Now, say for example, I work 6 days a week, but on Sunday, I will never ever think of any work unless it's really urgent. In the same way, after a certain time, I have given myself a certain time, and then I switch off. And my colleagues know that we need not talk to each other after this time. My only sincere hope is that you have work colleagues who will respect that. If you are working all the time, then you're going to be stressed, right? So learn to switch off and focus on something else. That's all I can tell you.
Shamina, you want to add anything? Shall you want to add anything for this question?
I think we can.
Yeah, I like to add something. As he just said, the shutting off is very important because when you are working from home, there is no starting time and there's no ending time, right? So sometimes when you're confused because you try to tend to work a lot, sometimes when you're confused, you can actually have a mentor or a coach or somebody and to see which part of the work or which part of the day or which person is stressing you out. Three different things. It can be a person, it can be the timing, or it can be the task. So once you identify that, you can come up with a strategy as to how you can overcome that. You can't avoid it. That is part of your life. The work is part of your life. These three elements are part of your life. So you can actually talk to a person, and you can come up with a wonderful strategy. And I've seen people do that, and I have testimonials also based on that. I think you can really overcome this situation.
Azim, I'd like to add to that.
Thank you for that. Yeah.
Sorry.
Yeah, Shamina, go ahead.
Quickly, I'd like to just add to that, because when you asked that question, I just realized, there's a book, How to Stop Worrying and Start Living. And in fact, I had made some notes on, how to really organize your work. And I'm just going to read it out because that actually can be a tool that they can use to follow. If you want to write it down, I'll just read it out. So one is live in day-tight compartments, which means you focus only on today. Day-tight compartments, focus on today. And when you're focusing on today, for tomorrow, you write your list. You write a list on what you are going to do tomorrow. That gives you a plan, and that gives you something that you can work with or to start your day. Then when you come to the day, and when you want to establish your routine, they have said 4 good working habits to prevent fatigue and worry. Okay, so that is from the book. Number 1, it says clear your desk of all papers except those relating to the immediate problem or the work at hand. So I strongly advise we have to have a separate work room or a work desk. Having your desk in your bedroom or keeping your laptop and working on the bed is not the solution now, because it it psychologically does impact you and you don't feel like working. So clear your desk of all the papers means have a neat table that will give you an easy way of focusing, and also it's more it's actually clearer. It clears your space. So it gives you clarity of thought when your table or your space is clear. Number 2, do things in order of their importance. If you need to sort something now, then if there's something, if you have a list of things which you have, and this is why a list is always important, then you sort it in, you prioritize in terms of importance or in terms of importance and urgency. That's number 2. When you face a challenge, solve it or attend to it then and there. That's number 3. So if you need to sort something, we are very good procrastinators. We really put off things, especially the things that we don't want to do. We just waste our time going around and around or watering plants in the garden just to avoid that action, or just to avoid replying that email, or just to avoid replying that SMS or attending to that. Finish it off then and there. Then that actually you finish one task, you are actually feeling better. So that's the advice he gives in point number 3. And of course, number 4, he says, this is actually the book called How to Stop Worrying and Start Living, Norman Vincent Peale. The 4th point, he says, organize, deputize, and supervise. Sorry, it's Dale Carnegie, not Norman Vincent. It's Dale Carnegie's the author. Organize, deputize, and supervise. So we really need to start getting into this habit of delegating well. And when you say delegating, it is not passing the responsibility and letting other people handle it, but delegating and supervise. You are still accountable for it, but you are holding someone else responsible for the job. Okay, so there's a difference, accountability and responsibility. And when you actually organize it and deputize it, or when you actually delegate things, you are able to be a better manager, and also you are more free to do things. So those are 4 tools that you can use when you are working from home.
Fantastic. CJ, you want to add anything, CJ?
Yes, Azim, there are 2 things which I want to say. Number 1 is, you should be able to, during this time especially, we need to be kind to ourselves, and we need to be nice to ourselves, because most of the time we are our own biggest critic, and I think what I would suggest is every day in the evening before you go to bed, just say to yourself, look, you are good, you did this because, and that is the reason why you are good. Actually try and think of 3 or 4 things about yourself which you have done, which you will compliment yourself, even if there is no one else, and that will make you feel really good. The second thing is, this is what I was telling about Shamina, what Shamina was telling about making that list. Write down every little thing you want to do, and the moment you do it and cross it off, you actually get something called dopamine, which is a feel-good chemical in your brain released, right? And that will make you feel better and make you feel less stressed.
Thank you.
That's
Thank
what
you,
I had to say.
Thank you, Shamina, for you guys are slowly, really showing me the path for the next question, and bringing up it. So before I move on to that, guys, the questions are coming. Why I'm not putting those questions because you guys are slowly answering those questions. So if you're not answering, I'm just putting it across. Before I move on to the next, if you talked about the stress level working from home, yes, you do have an issue. Now, who has an issue? Me, ourselves as an issue. Who has to correct? Is us who has to correct. How do we correct? Yes, there are superiors who talk with us. There might be delegation coming for us to do. There may be deadline given, but it's always possible when you have that conversation coming in with your line managers, with your superiors, whoever it is who've been passing your work for you, because you need to let them know that you are also going through tough, because it's not easy, especially working from home. You have the kids doing their schooling the other side. You might be your wife also might be sometime working, so it is not easy for you to manage. Sometimes you have to take that extra effort. So as the both CJ, Shamina, and Sharush mentioned, that scheduling your lifestyle, managing your time, take often break, because this is where we go wrong. We miss our lunch, we miss our meals, we miss our tea or coffee. often take breaks, because that break will give you a break for your brain. So that will release the stress, because when you don't work and your stress is really high, I'm not saying stress is bad. Stress is you need to turn the stress into a positive element through identifying, taking those through breaks and reflect your that particular moment, and create that whole setup. Right, here you go. I'm going to work 8 to 10, etc., etc. And really work towards particular setup. Right. You work 90 minutes, or 60 minutes. Take a 10-minute break. Right. And always make sure that when you are working from home, make sure that you're connected and give your 100% attention to that work, so you can end up very quickly, so you don't get distracted. Sometimes we go to social media, you put a post, WhatsApp will come. So when that happens, you get distracted, your focus, lose your focus, and your time might stretch along the same way. So you make sure that as if you're working from office, bring that same practice. That is what scheduling, time management, everything need to come into place. So that's a little bit tip from my end. So while we're talking that, it's the way forward. Now we are going to the last bit of this particular webinar. What would be the new pathway? And most importantly, I really want to stress on this. Finance, our personal finance has become a big impact. Some people have got their salary half. They're talking about deduction. Especially entrepreneurs, their startups or whoever it is, even the salaried person also having certain difficulty because cost of living is going high. With the same time, lockdown or additional income avenues are getting shut down. So this is a lot of element is coming. Now, I'd like to put, Shamina did talk about how to stop worrying and start living. Shamina, do you want to add a couple of things to this particular line, so where our viewers can really take up? And I asked us whole panelists, we are going getting very close to our end of session. Make sure that let's give the tool straight away with a little bit of an explanation. Will be make our life easier as well. So Shamina, over to you.
Oh, yes, Azim. So I'm going to touch on 2 books actually here, The Answer and very clearly Set Your Financial Goals. And I think CJ will give some additional tips. Set your financial goals, set clear actions on how you are going to achieve these goals. I mean, the more you detail it, and why I'm saying this is, and the more you detail it, the more your body will start adjusting into this action. Now, why I'm saying this is because there's in this book called The Answer, there is the concept of your RAS, your reticular activating system. Now, this is it's basically a bunch of neurons. It acts like a filter. Now, we are exposed to million bits of information, and we can't identify which job, which source of income, or which place, or which we really find hard to filter and choose what we need to actually achieve that particular goal. And let's say in this case, even if it's a financial goal, we don't know how to pick and choose because our mind is actually so crowded. Now, and the RAS is your filter, is the filtering system that actually helps you focus so much that when you narrow it down, and it actually starts filtering only the information that you focus on. So, which is why, let's say you are thinking about something and it happens because that's where your focus is. And why, even if you are in an airport, that if you hear your name, you can, even if I say Azim, some other Azim, you are going to get activated. That's because you're programmed already to do that. So if I give you a tool on setting a financial goal, write down in A, B, C. A, list down all the things you want to achieve. A, list down all the things you want to achieve under B, and list down everything under C. And then, of course, you will have the A, which is the ones you want to achieve most. That's your most important. And from there onwards, you can actually start focusing and prioritizing on your goals that way. Secondly, is Azim, we, like you all were talking about this technology, etc. We are really suffering from this broken focus syndrome, and we are sometimes in 2 or 3 Zoom meetings at the same time. That actually makes us very tired. So even in this book, 5 a.m. Club, give yourself time to really think. So if you start early and establish a routine, I can't emphasize this enough. Establishing a routine for yourself, you really will be able to start identifying how to find solutions to these challenges that you are facing, financial or anything else. So in summary, what I want to say is, when you really focus and keep your mind on your goals and detailed it, your RAS, which is your mental filtering system, will automatically start showing you. It's like a heat missile that starts identifying the situations, the circumstances, the sources that are going to help you achieve what you want to achieve. So it takes you to your end goal. And that is why they say write down. When you write down what you really want to do, as opposed to typing it or thinking it, your body and your mind and your body start connecting. It creates a lot of neural systems which make your body start acting. It actually puts your body into action, so that you start actively looking for places. You will actively start looking online, or talking to people, or searching some ways that you can make in an income or achieve something. There are people who are doing different jobs right now from what they are doing. There are people who are using different channels to get out there and make, and there are vendors on the road who are making ends meet. Okay, I think you told me that. So people are finding new ways of doing things. So if you start really solidifying and focusing and saying, I want to do this, I want to have this target, I want to achieve this, the situations through your RAs will be created for you, because your mind is then focused, and your mind can then pick, like going into the supermarket and your aisle, you can pick that situation, the circumstance, the person that's going to get you closer to achieving that goal. So that's what I can say, Azim, from my end. Over to you.
Thank you, Shamina. I think it really resonates. This is called for affirmation, right? The more you go in front of the mirror, say, I'm going to be this, I'm going to be this, it start resonating into your whole system and start building accordingly, right? So that's another element I really want to bring it up. Shallu, what do you think? What you can give us on this particular day, the success principles?
Azim, what what Shamina said is fantastic, right? Not only that, we can see, we need to understand that we have to take 100% responsibility to our lives, right? Whatever that circumstances are we are in, money, no money, so situations, whatever, we take the responsibility. And now Shamina has given a fantastic tool in saying what says that you write things down, you plan it, you set your goals, right? When you do that, you will face situations of where obstacles, and you will come across people who might discourage you, right? And you will face various types of things. The main three things that you need to do is, once you set up the goal, once you write it down, once you do it, be persistent. You have to practice to be persistent. Don't give up at any cost once you identify it, right? Even if you want to achieve something, if you want to build your relationship with your family, be at it all the time. Just strategize all the time, think, because I believe, Asim, if we ask a question from the universe, okay, I don't have this answer, I need a guidance, it's guaranteed that we will all get an answer. Some people, we believe in the universe, some people we believe in God, it's all the same. It's just that you will get the answer 100%. And the one very important point is that waking up early morning, something which I practice now, is from the time I wake up, I don't take the phone or nothing for about an hour. I don't touch it. I'm tempted to go and take the phone, but I don't do that. It really helps, because it really helps to meditate, really helps to refocus, right? And see, when you're going towards your goal with the obstacles and everything, people will start discouraging you. Okay, it's not going to go. Get out of that. That's like a club. In the book Success Principle, it says it's ain't good club. Get out of that club. You don't have to be in that club. Surround yourself with people, and there are so many good things. You can surround yourself with business people. You can surround yourself with book readers. I mean, Pick a Book is a fantastic platform for that. Because we all the time talk about reading books and encouraging others. That's going to only positively impact you, right? And then also, always, let's say your goal is getting that, going to a certain destination, just have that focus all the time. I mean, the perfect example for Stockdale Paradox also has him. You have your goal of going home, getting out of that prison is your goal. When and where, don't worry about it. It will come. You just should never give up on that dream that you have. Don't ever give up. Just be persistent. Be persistent. Be persistent, and always take responsibility for what you're doing. And it will just flow in your life, and just allow it. Allow
Fantastic.
allow the universe to do things for you. That is one of the key things that we forget. We try to do it by force. We don't allow it as it. When you allow it, it will just, it's like a puzzle. It just falls into place beautifully.
Fantastic, Shalu. Thank you for sharing that amazing insights, what are coming around. And there are a lot of questions coming. I think our panelists are giving a quick heads up on the chat. Thank you for doing that work for me, right? It helps us to really navigate this. Like CJ, important element, finance. There are a lot of people who are struggling to manage the finance. There are a lot of people in terms of difficult to pay their bills, credit card rates have gone up, people are struggling. What would your book, and I think you have been practically practicing one of those things from the book. Over to you, CJ, what do you think?
Just before, I want to add one more thing to what Shelu and Shamina was talking about. If you want to manifest something, right? If you want to manifest something, especially when you are going to sleep, picture yourself having manifested that thing. It's crucial. And I can vouch for this book, the answer, because I actually started reading it only last week after Shamina said it. And it just opened me to amazing possibilities. And I'm only at 25% of that book. And I can already see things coming my way purely because I put what she said into practice. So the book I'm going to talk about is called The Total Money Makeover by a guy called Dave Ramsey. He has a very good presence online. There's the Dave Ramsey Show, and he has a lot of good advice. And if you really want to go down that route, you can, check him out online. But the book I'm referring to is called The Total Money Makeover. So what he says is, I'm sure all of you have heard of that frog fable. It's a fable where they say, if you put a frog into a pan and if you boil the water slowly and bring the temperature up, the frog will not realize it and he will be boiled alive. Have you heard of it, guys? It's called the frog paradox or something like that. But yeah, actually, it's a fable. If you actually do an experiment, the frog kind of jumps out and goes all over your house. Not that I tried it, but it's a very good example of looking at our financial health. Most of the time, out of our financial health, we discover that we have a problem. It comes out, like a disease out of nowhere, because we are going comfortably with our lives without, having a checkup. And what Dave says is to ask two questions to figure out how good a financial shape you are in. The first one is, can you afford to maintain your current life on your savings without getting into debt for 3 months if you lose your stream of income? Right? Can you maintain your life in your current lifestyle for 3 months if you lose your stream of income? That's number one. Number two is, do you have more debts than assets? Right? So those are the two questions, and that will give you the answer that you are the status of your financial health. Now, depending on that, he gives you lots of ways of cutting down your expenditure, right? one thing he says is do your shopping online, right? Because when you're online, if you have gone over your budget, you can actually remove items, right? But if you are at the counter at a supermarket, of course, these days we can do, we are forced to do it online. But generally in life, if you are at a counter at a supermarket, it feels highly embarrassing to, put stuff back into the shelves, right? Then he talks about how to cut down small expenses. We don't realize, but when we are buying 500 rupee coffees, we are actually paying huge amounts of money, right? Also, how to pay cash and to get rid of your credit cards, because credit card debt is a big problem in today's context. Without realizing it, your credit card debt can really snowball. So once you go through the cutting down, what he says is, this is called the 7-step process. The first step is to create an emergency fund of roughly $1,000. And I think it works for the Sri Lankan context as well. $1,000, depending on where you buy your dollars from, is 250,000 to 230,000 bucks. But that is kept there. So in case of medical bills, in case of repairs, you put that. Then he talks which is called the debt snowball. What he says is, take all your debts and put it in the diminishing order, right? And pay the minimum that you have to pay on all the debts, and try and reduce the smallest debt first, right? Try and reduce the smallest debt first. Sometimes this happens in credit cards. You have 3 or 4 credit cards, and some will have a higher debt, some will have a lower debt. In fact, what he suggests is, even if you wait without paying for 1 or 2 months and wipe out one credit card, that way you will feel, mentally you will feel strong that you can get rid of your debt and you can move on. Then, of course, what he talks about is when the debt is gone, right, use that to save 15% of your salary, right? Then, and invest that in your retirement. Then, of course, save for the kids' education, pay off your home mortgage, and finally build wealth. But he gives a very interesting step-by-step process for this. And I think it's a very interesting book. In fact, I had a lot of credit card debt, which I managed to reduce by this. And again, I had to cut down my expenditure at one point in my life. Believe it or not, we were eating vegetables and rice because my income went down. And this book really helped me to bring my finances back on track.
Fantastic, CJ. I think this is one of the important elements, especially these days, because finance is another issue, because electricity bill, now the new component is internet bill, a lot of element is there. So here, how I see, right, it's not the cost of living what we have, it's the cost of our lifestyle, right? Cost of living will be there. Then based on the cost of living, if you really change our cost of lifestyle, I think we are on par. See, it all depends on individual perspective. Now, how do we, like, if we regularly once a week we eat from McDonald's or KFC or Pizza Hut, at the same time, you need to cut down, okay, once a month we are going to have, not once a week. So you cut down your expenses to make sure that, especially in this particular scenario, and it's not an easy task, right? I think this is an important element we talked about. Again, guys, there are a lot of questions coming in. There's one question, I think Shamina would like to take up this question. Shamina, you're with us?
I think the question by the panelist about the Dunning-Kruger effect of reading,
yes.
Is it, Azim?
Yes. Let me read out. It's benefit for everyone. Yeah. So I think it will help everyone. So the question is, I have been seeing that some considerable amount of people who reads a lot have a huge ego issue, right? I mean, less humbleness, also not easily accept others' opinion, something like, or confidence like a Dunning-Kruger effect. Now, I feel from where this attendee is putting across, Now, sometimes when we have too much of knowledge, we have like, we know everything, that setup might come. Shamina, what is your element on this?
Yeah, so first, I think for the benefit of those who are reading, the question Dunning-Kruger effect is when, you think you know more than you actually know. But it's like this. I'm not in a position to answer your question generally. I can give you my opinion and my experience. Reading has helped me become, in fact, more humble, because the more I read, I understand the less I know. Okay. And when I have read, I really have been able to understand people. I've really been able to understand life better. So when I understand that better, it actually has made me more humble and more actually, in fact, aware that I really don't know, and there's so much more out there that I don't know. So if I think you have encountered people who think or you feel egoistic, I think it cannot be generalized. I think it depends on the individual. I think it's very much depending on the individual, and not a connection to the reading, because whatever we get, we all have a way of internalizing things and also sending it out. So what you can produce out from yourself, it can either help or it can either destroy. So it depends on whatever tools we have. It's how we use it. So I think my best suggestion is maybe strike a conversation with this person, or have a small discussion to really understand why this person is behaving. And like CJ said, understand their love language. You might get a solution to that. Over to you, Azim.
Thank you, Shamina, answering that. Reading is about, yes, you get the wealth of knowledge, right? But I would suggest just don't keep it with yourself. Share it, right? That's what Pick a Book does. For your information, for those who are not members, who are just joining this particular. So what we do, we meet once a week. We have clubs around all around Colombo. We are reaching out of Colombo, also Kurunegala, Puttalam, Gaul. So what it's a club where like-minded people, like, it's not only readers who come to the club. There are a lot of not readers, not reading at all. No, I'm a person, living example. I didn't read at all until I get into Pick a Book. I start reading and I'm start presenting. What we do is we read a book, we get our understanding, and we present to the members. So we reflect our life examples into that particular book and present to the members or the guest or invitees, whoever it is. So what is happening is I'm sharing my knowledge through learning. With sharing my knowledge, I am gaining knowledge. At the same time, I'm spreading the message of knowledge. So imagine you join every week. We are talking about 52 weeks per year. That means 52 different books are presented in club, and you're getting wealth of knowledge. As might be the individual perspective, it's about sharing the knowledge. And let me come across to the finance element. We are trying to almost close down the webinar. It's really important that this is the moment you need to thrive. Crises are the best time for you to thrive, because you will find a lot of opportunities unless you are not focused. Imagine your mind is a giant projector. Whatever you feed is what is going to project. If you feed to your mind fear, anxiety, depression, stress, it is going to project the same. It is what you're going to look at the news, and what is the information you're going to take, make it into an element of a very focused to your goals. So for you to thrive in this time, best time, couple of things you do. Number one, start reading something, books, journals, whatever it is. Number two, look at your strengths and weaknesses. What are your strengths? Start building on the strengths. What are your weaknesses? If it's a skill related, start building those skills, which is because it is going to be the future. It's going to be turnaround. Remember, after every pandemic or crisis, there has been a big boom. So they are projecting after the pandemic, of hopefully with Almighty's, everybody's God's help, this goes around, gets away. There are going to be a lot of opportunity to come. So you start building your knowledge, start building your skill around to get ready for it. and start be creative. Now, if you see first lockdown, we saw a lot of people doing these home deliveries, right? Not only Pick Me or Uber, there have a lot of people who build up a small platform, start delivering stuff. So be creative. How to be creative is the curiosity you need to bring in. What I can do better, what I can do the best, what I can do something else. So when you really focus your mind to these elements, you will not be so lonely. You will not be like surviving, you'll be thriving. So this is the last message, bit of a whole element everybody talked about. We talked about goals. We talked about focus our mindset. We talked about RAS. We talked about the love language. We talked about the relationship. We did talk about the financial element. And now we are going to end this webinar with a positive element. See, it's how you experience this lockdown. How do you experience the pandemic? What are the learnings is what you need to take forward. Don't have this blame game coming in, and avoid these 3 C's. One is compare, criticize, and complain. Start avoiding these 3. I think you will be a better person tomorrow than today. So that's what today's webinar is about. So that's the time that we have, ladies and gentlemen. We would like to thank all our 3 panelists, Krishant Jayasinghe, PAP Corporate Mentor and the Chief Growth Whisperer at Sarvaya, Colombo, Shamina Palli, PAP Regional Mentor, Colombo, and founder of Reflection Coaching, Shelu, all-known, well-known person, PAP Club Coach and a corporate mentor, as well as an entrepreneur. So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for joining in today's webinar and sharing a wealth of knowledge, what you have read, getting into a practical element. I believe our viewers have got plenty of tools to practice, start building from tomorrow, a better future, while thriving from home, just not working from home. So once again, thank you very much for every attendee who have passed across. I believe you would have answers as much as possible the questions. And I would like to extend my heartfelt gratitude on behalf of the panelists to Pick a Book and the team for arranging this particular session. There have been a lot of logistical issue, constraints they have taken. So thank you very much, Rajiv and Raghulan and the whole team for putting up this in favor of the community, in favor of the society of our country to make a better tomorrow. At the same time, if you want to learn more about Pick a Book, please log into their Facebook page and drop a message. They will come back to you what Facebook Pick a Book does. So that's it. So once again, thank you very much. Signing off, my name is Azim Sahid. Have a great weekend. Most importantly, take your vaccine, take both the jabs. Don't forget, that will keep you safe, and stay safe, and God bless you. Thank you and take care.
Bye. Good night.
Thank you, Azim. Thank you for a wonderful moderation.
Thank you, everyone. Good to see you.
Thank you all the
Fantastic. Thank you.
participants.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you so much. Good night.